our new demo.
It goes out to democracy for coming out here with us.
This is consumption of human feces.
There's me with the Exit 13 shirt. What's up, everybody? So yeah, Derek, you're right. Uncle Sam's. Where is it? When he zooms back, you can see the sign that goes across, right? It said Uncle Sam's. So Uncle Sam's was this bar, literally like a legendary rock bar in the Niagara region. I can't see nothing. Yeah, it was a legendary rock bar right beside the Sundowner. It's now called Seductions. And I ended up booking a couple shows there before its demise in, I believe it was, don't quote me, 95, I believe was the last year it was open. So I ended up booking this Death Fest at Uncle Sam's when, you know, started getting into everything and writing everybody and realizing how easy it was to, hey man, just send me your phone number and whatever, and let's call and let's figure something out, right? So Grotesque. Worms of Decay is one of my favorite songs too. But Lamont, the guy who introduced them at the beginning, was the original singer for the band also. Was one of the singers, the original singer. So yeah, man. It was awesome. So it was us, yeah, Uncle Sam's. Welcome to Uncle Sam's. I don't know if Alan Cross is watching this. I know he's heard of that bar for sure. So it was myself, it was Mangled, Gastric Pus from Toronto, Grotesque Infection, Demonacy, Nailed, Massification, Inbred. Wicked lineup. But yeah, ended up recording most of the show. The rest, unfortunately, the last two bands I did not get on tape. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to deal with growing up and just, you know, like, ah, fuck, whatever, right? No big deal. Just record over this, and it's like, no, damn. So yeah, man. Yeah, Coroidia, band from Florida, bringing back a sweet Florida death metal sound. Something about these guys, man. They're not trying. Again, it's one of those bands. Like, I'm trying to. You get picky as you get older, right? Like, that's just how it is. You get worse. So when there's, you know, 500 bands being thrown at you, you're probably gonna like maybe 15, 20 of those that you'll actually be like, I'm gonna buy something from those guys. And Coroidia, wow. Fucking awesome, man. It's got it. It's totally the Florida death metal, like the. I'm not gonna say the heavier side, but you know, they got the blast beats. I'm not gonna say they sound like anything Morrisound did or whatever like that. But if you totally dig the Tampa area and such, Coroidia, it's definitely a band for you guys. Remember, again, I like bringing up posters and stuff. But Demonacy, another, that was one of the New Jersey bands. Oh yeah, Demonacy. Yeah, we ended up booking them too. So this was Demonacy. It was from New Jersey, part of the Mortal Decay, Ripping Corpse, Incantation, and all that kind of stuff. That whole area. So Demonacy. This is one of their newsletters that they put out. So that's pretty cool. Those guys in the band, like Stan Zielinski, he hasn't seen one of these in forever. None of those guys have this. So it's just like, oh shit, that's cool. And it's just another little flyer, little promo thing that they would hand out, right? Found this old Wild Rags Records. Check that out. Embryonic Death. Remember those guys? I talked about them a couple months, maybe 2 months ago or whatever like that. Oh, what's the label? I'm sorry, John. Oh, they just put the album out. Not the album, but just they put the demos out. Re-put the demos out on disc. Fucking sweet package. I'll remember it by the end of the video, but yeah, here's an old Wild Rags Records for Embryonic Death, right? Fucking cool. And then you guys remember, obviously, for all us older generations, when Nuclear Blast was throwing their flyers around everywhere, right? To a lot of the like the media and everything. So you'd have like this shit here. So fucking. Don't want to wreck this stuff. There we go. I got some Resurrection. I don't know. Yeah, I don't mind them, but I can't listen to a whole album. And that was the one thing with Amorphous too. I just couldn't do Amorphous. Wasn't my band. But anyways, let's sorry, Grotesque. All right, let's try this out.
There we go.
There he is. How are you, sir?
Here in my office, in a bunker, deep down in the bowels of the earth.
Yeah, you had to fix your hair there. You're looking looking like.
I know. Listen, when this is March 97th. I think that's the date. I've been down here 11 billion days, so it's just so weird.
I know, it's kind of it's strange to get into this pattern as much as I mean, yourself too. We do a lot of computer work. We do a lot of just sitting in our one room doing whatever we had to do. And literally the fact that you want to get out and just be like, all right, I got to go to the store. I got to grab a few things or whatever. And it's like, no, I can't really do that right now. Shit, what do I do now?
I really want to go out for a nice meal. I want to go walk around the mall, not to buy anything, just to be able to walk around. And I want to, well, here she comes. Okay, hang on.
It's all good.
This is, hang on.
Holy, look at that beast.
What shoes?
Hey, it's Spuds McKenzie.
It is. I got two of them.
That's fantastic. How old?
Schmooze is going to be 12 next month.
Oh, wow.
The other one's 6. Okay, go. I'm busy doing this. We can go for a walk later. All right.
Just give the little, okay. So explain to some people, obviously, if anybody doesn't know who this is Alan Cross, and he's hosted, and I don't know just everything on top of this about new music, alternative music, just kind of everything in general, and getting to the nitty gritty about things. Is it just Canada you're stuck in? Or
no, I have some of the radio shows end up in the United States, and the podcast is international. There's only a couple of countries in the world, including South Sudan and North Korea, that have never downloaded my podcast. I'm still trying to get to them.
Wow, right on. So the podcast itself that you do now, is that the history of new music? Is that what it is?
Well, there's two podcasts. The Ongoing History of New Music is a radio show that's syndicated across Canada and parts of North America. We cut that down, turn it into a podcast, and then that is sent out every week. And I also do another podcast called Geeks and Beats, which is a fun discussion of the intersection of music and technology. We do that once a week.
Right on, right on. So you've been involved with this for quite a while, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yes.
Just obviously music in general, growing up, that triggered something in you that just pushed you to get into this? Is that kind of...
Well, a couple of things. First of all, my grandmother gave me a radio for my 6th birthday, and I was growing up in a small town north of Winnipeg where we had 3 TV stations, one of which was in French. And the only music I heard was what Mom and Dad played in the car or on the kitchen table. When I got my radio, I realized that there was more than one radio station, and that they played music that I kind of liked. And not only was there radio stations coming out of Winnipeg, they were coming out of Chicago and Boston and Denver and Louisville, Kentucky, and Minneapolis and a whole bunch of other places. And I realized that the world was a whole lot bigger than I had been told. And then about 6 years later, we were at my uncle's place. He was working for the Manitoba telephone system, and he had a sideline job of servicing jukeboxes. So once a week, he would go on his rounds, take out all the old records, and put in all the new records. Now, by the time the old records had to be taken out, they were pretty messed up. So they had nothing to do. They were going to be throwing them up. So we were there one Sunday afternoon. He says, "Would you like all these old records, these old 45s?" And I said, "Absolutely." And that became the basis of my record collection. And one of the things I learned was that when you grow up on the Canadian prairies and you're not very good in hockey and you are good in school, you are not a very popular guy. And the only way that I was made popular or I could have some friends was by being the music nerd, the guy who had all the records, and the guy who somehow knew a little bit more about music than everybody else, the guy that you can come to for advice and information on music. And that's pretty much the way it turned out. I never thought I'd ever make a living at it, but in hindsight, that's what happened.
So obviously your record collection has obviously grown since then.
Yeah, I mean, when I moved east, I had a pretty, I don't know, maybe about 2,000 records. I left most of those behind because we were moving into the digital age. Who wanted vinyl?
Oh.
So, yeah, and those records still exist at home. At my parents' place. I have since gone through them and picked out the records that I really wanted. There was a lot of crap in there. And then I also had a nephew that went and took all my metal records before I got it. Yeah, so all the 80s metal stuff that I had and all the 70s metal stuff, gone. The kid took them. So I've had to rebuild some of that on my own.
Oh man, holy cow. And the problem is though, with a lot of the obscure rock and heavy metal and stuff, there's not too many new pressings of a lot of that old stuff unless it's on CD, really.
Right. Now, I don't mind the fact that I lost my 4 members of Kiss solo albums. That was okay.
What? Ace Frehley album is the greatest.
Oh, before it's the best. Yes, I'll grant you that. But I did manage to, what did I save? All my Deep Purples, all my Van Halen's, all my, a couple of Kiss records that I kept. All the other stuff went to the kid. And now, I don't have a lot of really rare metal stuff. I buy what I like whenever I go to a record store or to a record show.
Yeah, totally. And so you obviously frequent record shows?
Yeah, I do. There's a couple that I go to every year. I didn't go to the spring downtown record show this year for obvious reasons, but I will go to the fall in November, and that's always terrible. My wife just gets so mad at me when I come back with all this stuff. And you know what? I rarely play this. I mean, there's a difference between, being a collector. It's like being a stamp collector, being a record collector. You have these stamps to have them, not to ever put on an envelope and use them. So with a lot of the records I get to have them knowing that they're there in perpetuity if I ever wanted them. And I just feel good knowing that I've preserved that piece of plastic in a loving way for the time being, so that I may not listen to it, but I have it. If I want to listen to the music off that record, I will find a digital way of doing it, so I don't destroy the cover, I don't destroy the vinyl, all that kind of stuff. But there's something to be said for having a personally curated shelf of records or CDs that go on for meters and meters and meters, that you can go to and study and analyze and enjoy again and again and again for no extra cost. But at the same time, you understand that a lot of these records are rare and that you have to take care of them. And basically, you're looking out for them for the next generation. So that's the way I look at some of my really rare records. I got some Beatles records that are stupidly rare. And then I've got some 12-inch singles back from the old CFMY days that, don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And then I've got all these weird metal compilations that I used to get, and I can't remember. Maybe it was from Earache. I don't remember. But I have a whole bunch of them, and that's where I discovered bands like Cannibal Corpse and a few others.
Right. Yeah. Metal Blade, obviously being one of the bigger labels, they were the ones that kind of started with Slayer and Merciful Fate and all that kind of stuff, right? So
Right.
Those compilations especially are really sought after because that was kind of like, like a starting point for a lot of these bands, right?
Well, yeah, when you were just getting into this kind of metal, especially the heaviest kind of metal, you really didn't want to necessarily take the plunge into just one band. You might get a Slayer, you might get a Venom album, but there's just there were the different levels of intensity, different levels of heaviness, different levels of just the way that people approached it. So it was good to get a compilation because that gave you an overview of what everybody was doing, how everybody was interpreting this idea of extremely thrashy, deathy black metal. And then from there you can find, okay, to the novice, and you don't even need to tell you this, but to the novice, it's all noise. It's all just some guy, with Cookie Monster vocals growling over a guy who can play double bass drum faster than anybody else. But that kind of it's kind of I say, okay, you would have the same problem with modern jazz. Modern jazz is something that nobody likes the first time they hear it because it's too complicated, because you don't know what to listen for. You don't know what to appreciate. But if you can take somebody takes you by the hand and says, okay, here's what I want you to listen for in this recording. This guy does this guy does this, and then here's what's going to happen, and here's why what he's doing is great. Same thing with a lot of death metal, is that you have to say, okay, back off and listen to the guitars, listen to the arrangement, listen to how the rhythm section is coming together, listen to what the drummer is doing. Don't worry about not being able to understand the vocals, because it's an effect more than it is somebody's going to tell you a story with what they're singing about.
Totally, it's just like an added instrument.
It is an added instrument, and once you begin to understand that some of the growls are better than others.
Yep.
And if you think it's easy, if you think that this is goofy, just try doing it yourself.
Right.
And I bet you make 4 or 5 lines into a song, and then your voice is shot.
Yep.
Now, this is just a different form of vocalization.
No, totally. Yeah, it's funny. Like you said, everybody just thinks it's a wall of noise, no big deal. There's nothing to listen to. And then when you tell, well, then try to do a growl, try to do one of those things, right? And then obviously, as soon as they start, they're choking and hacking, and they can't handle it. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, oh, geez, okay, well, then how the hell do they get so much range in a growl or a scream or a cackle or whatever like that, right?
Yeah, I play drums, and I got it's not set up, but I have a huge double bass drum kit. And, I know how hard it is to play that fast, that hard, and still keep in time. It's a physical thing. It really is incredibly physical. And unless you and that's just one of the things that you learn to appreciate, is how much exercise you get doing, playing this kind of music.
Yeah, totally. I mean, majority of drummers, they're just ripped, right? Top to bottom.
Oh, yeah.
So you started, obviously you got into music and everything like that, and you're saying like Deep Purple and everything like that. Did you really explore a lot of the, the heavy rock, the proto metal and everything back then?
I did. So I was definitely a heavy rock guy. I remember when Iron Maiden came along, I was like, okay, I get this. And then I would go off, and there was some new wave of British heavy metal stuff that I was into. I really liked Man of War until I saw an album cover, and then I thought, no, not going to do this. But then there was the poppy end of that with Def Leppard that came out, and a few others, and from where I was living in Winnipeg at the time, that was as heavy as it got. Motley Crue, a song like Looks That Kill. If you heard that on the radio, that was a big deal.
Yeah, that's a heavy tune.
Yeah, and it wasn't until I got to CFNY, and we had a deal with Records on Wheels and the Record Peddler, and we, through the late '80s and early '90s, well, through the late '80s anyway, we played a lot of English synth stuff, so very melodic, very danceable stuff. But there was a portion of the staff that really wanted to get heavy and stupid. So what we would do is we had an arrangement with the Record Peddler and Records on Wheels where we could go and shop in their warehouse and buy all the stuff that they would put on sale at their cost.
Oh.
So that's where I picked up. I would look for something that I knew that was going to be really, really intense. So that's where I bought Metallica's Kill 'Em All. That's where I bought Metallica's Justice for All. I bought the Big Black songs about fucking there. And then I was buying records, from industrial bands like Lard.
Oh yeah, awesome band, great band.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic stuff. And for the late '80s, early '90s, that was super, super, super heavy.
Yeah.
And we were playing Ministry Every Day is Halloween on the radio, but it's fine. But then all of a sudden, they have something like Stigmata and
New World Order.
New World Order. I mean, this is just okay. There was a period of time in the early '90s where, and Metallica comes along with the Black Album, where things got really, really heavy. And I guess at that point, I started jumping off into a little bit of the really, I don't want to say dark metal, but really the heaviest end of the metal stuff. So give you an example. So KMFDM comes up with a song called Godlike, and they sample Slayer, Rain or Blood. Okay, I did not know about Rain and Blood, so that led me back to Slayer. And then I have a friend from Brazil, and she's like, Pantera. Okay, fine. Lots of Pantera. And who else was there? But you get my drift, right?
Oh, totally. No, totally.
It was an antidote to a lot of the dancey poppy stuff that we had been playing, which was fine, but just occasionally wanted something a little harder. Yeah,
totally. And I mean, at least back then, CFNY, to everybody out there, is a radio station that's based out of Toronto. And when did CFNY actually start?
77.
77. Holy shit. And then you jumped on, what, late 80s?
86.
86.
October of 86, yeah.
And then that's when your influence kind of started getting into the station? Or, what was CFNY all the time, though? Was it just like a regular rock station?
No, it was definitely an English or a UK-leaning alternative pop station. Right. So there was, Depeche Mode, The Cure, Talking Heads, Pet Shop Boys, that kind of thing. That was the big thing. But in the evening, we would be allowed to get a little heavier because, let's face it, this music is fairly polarizing. And if you don't have somebody who is going to treat it with the appropriate respect and patience, it's not going to do well on the radio, which is really unfortunate. But every once in a while we managed to sneak in a few things. And I do remember bringing the Lard record in, and I can't remember the song that I played, but I got to play it once.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, holy shit, eh?
And then, I'll tell you, the band that got me into it too, I remember in Winnipeg, it still is, there's a radio station called City FM, and one day they brought this here's this three-piece band, they're from England, they're really heavy, I don't know what you're going to think of it, and he plays Ace of Spades. And it was like, okay, I'm in love. And then I became a Motorhead fan. So I need to mention that. I really do need to mention that.
And then you go back on Lemmy's history, too, where he was in Hawkwind, and he ended up doing some roadieing for Jimi Hendrix, I believe, too. And
well, I actually was really surprised when I got to Hawkwind because it was pretty spacey. It wasn't Motorhead. And okay, this is kind of cool. I got a friend, and he was a huge Lemmy fan. He, to the point where he went to the Rainbow in Los Angeles and sat in Lemmy's chair and had a Diet Coke and Jack, where Lemmy used to drink all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he was a giant Hawkwind fan. And we kind of bonded over that.
Yeah, totally. But they booted him out because he was on speed and he just wanted to go faster anyways.
Yeah. And if one thing about Lemmy, he knew how to grow warts.
Oh, definitely. So the show's going on CFNY, and you obviously just got deeper and deeper into the music, and obviously realized that there's this massive spectrum of just genres everywhere. What made you?
What happened was the change of management, and they decided that there was a real risk that the new management was going to change the format into country. Now, at that time, and this is very late 80s, very early 90s, the radio station had a lot of baggage. It was tired. It really needed a reboot, really badly. It just did. And some people were thinking, well, why don't we just give up on it and try something else? But then they did a little bit of research, and they found out that there was this thing called grunge with Nirvana and Pearl Jam and so on. And they decided, well, okay, we'll stick with this particular format, but what we're going to do is change the name of the radio station from CFNY to The Edge, and we're going to have to create a documentary program that'll run once a week that will explain what it is that we're doing when it comes to this music, explain where this music came from, what it's all about, and why it's important. So they looked around, and they found one guy on staff with a history degree, which is me, and they said, you're doing it. I said, I don't want to do it.
Whoa.
And they said, fine, we will then, prepare an exit package for you, and you can go find something else to do. So that was in early 1993. I had really no choice because we just bought a house. So I made lemonade out of those lemons, and here I am. How many years later?
25 almost.
93.
Yeah, well.
But minus 3 years because I CFNY and I parted ways for a little bit.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah, because I remember during that time, I was actually delivering pizzas for Pizza Hut. And a friend of mine was working with me, so, we were hanging out, we're always talking music anyways. And I remember the radio station, when it was switching formats, wasn't it playing Rick Astley for like a week?
Yeah, that was in a period of time between ownership and the people who were managing during that interim period wanted to boost the ratings so that they could keep their jobs when the new owners took over. And when the new owners came in, they were very upset because they had bought a red car and these people had painted it blue in the interim. And so they were all fired, and we went back to what we were supposed to be doing.
Oh, wow. So how? I guess we can go like just music wise, because I mean this is obviously mostly a death metal forum that we're trying to talk about, but we're all fans of all sorts of music, right? I mean, you don't just listen to death metal. We listen to like you said, alternative, grunge, jazz, calypso, hip hop, whatever, right? And that is kind of you, right? You went everywhere. You love everything.
Yeah, I do. Here's my credo. And it took me a long time to get to this point. Respect all music, listen to what you want. Because I used to be a terrible music snob.
I was upset.
I was awful. I was insufferable. And I realized that every song is somebody's favorite song. It may not be mine, but who am I to say that my taste is better than yours? Because we'll just start a fight and nobody's going to win.
Yeah.
Deep down inside, I know that my music taste is best for me.
Yeah.
And so I just I do what I got to do. I just listen to what I want to.
Right. Yeah. Well, but that's exactly it. I mean, when I'm doing my research, obviously, doing the documentary, we're obviously listening to death metal all the time. But like I've been on a kind of like an 80s, 90s soul kick myself, and been cranking lots of Devo and lots of '60s country.
Well, it's a palate cleanser because when you listen to one form of music all the time, you do build up an immunity to it. And that immunity is the ability for your brain to secrete dopamine when a great song comes along. Sometimes what you need to do is put the stuff, your regular diet of stuff, on the shelf just for a little bit and go explore something else. And then when you come back to your favorite music, you'll realize that it sounds a whole lot fresher and a whole lot more interesting than what you had been listening to, and it'll rekindle your love affair with that stuff. For example, I had my fill of Jane's Addiction. I never wanted to hear any more Jane's Addiction again. So I stopped listening for a while. Then, for whatever reason, I was led back into listening, and I rediscovered them all over again and fell in love with what Perry Farrell was trying to do with that band. So, yeah, it's good to see other people every once in a while.
Oh, of course. If you want to put it that way. No, definitely. So, do you keep up with heavy music? Do you keep up?
As much as I can, yeah. I watch the documentaries. I occasionally will defer to people who know more about the genre than I do and say, okay, well, what should I be listening to? Right. So, Wade McNeil from Alexis on Fire, once in a while I'll ask him, what do you think I should listen to? He's much more into the screamo end of things.
Yep.
Which is fine, but he also knows some other stuff that I don't know about. So it's kind of cool to be able to lean on some other people for recommendations.
Yeah, and I noticed too. I'm friends with Doug Brown, who did the grindcore documentary, that Slave to the Grind or whatever. And he mentioned that whenever he's kind of set up with his records, that you go and chat with him and just be like, all right, what should I get? What should I get? And then all of a sudden, Anal Cunt falls in your lap.
Well, yeah, it did. As a matter of fact, it did. I was at a record show, the last record show I was at, and it was I was flipping through the middle of 45s, and I came across their version of a Bee Gees cover.
Yep.
So bought it, like $6, sold.
Wow, $6? That's it? You got to steal.
Hang on.
Holy shit! Yeah, I ended up buying that. I bought that 7-inch. I think it was in the 90s when it came out. I bought that for $6 then. That's hilarious. Anal Cunt, Staying Alive, Oi version. That's the EP, right? Yep.
Yeah. It's not followed alphabetically. Damn it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, see.
There it is. Yep. Staying Alive, the Oi version.
Yeah.
And it should be on orange marble vinyl.
It was $15.
Okay, that's still good.
And yeah, there you go.
There it is. Yeah, man, I got that up. I love that. So, what do you think of Anal Cunt?
Well, the reason I bought it, I brought the record in the first place is just to bring home, put on the kitchen counter, and say, "Hey, honey, I'm back with the record show.
You should listen to this, babe."
Look what I spent your money on. So that was, again, it's every once in a while you run across, bands like the Mentors and trying to think of some others along those lines. Yeah, it's for the shock value, the fun. I mean, if you take it seriously, you've got bigger problems. But it's kind of cool to. Where did this come from?
Oh yeah, Death from Above. There you go.
Oh, here we go. What's going on here? I've got a whole bunch of Death from Above stuff here, but I didn't realize I had. Oh, interesting.
So
now look what you've done. Oh, here, look at that. I bought that. That is
oh, the sweet. Oh, nice. Yeah.
That's an original pressing on RCA from '73. Cool.
Right on.
Remember, here's another sweet record. This is Action. Where did I buy this? I bought it for £4 someplace. Okay.
£4. All right. Yeah. That's about $8. Yeah.
So that's just I just grabbed the first inch of record, 7-inch singles off the shelf. So
Wow, you have them in order. That's a good thing. I have such a problem.
They're mine here. And we'll go over here.
All right.
I'll show you this. So here, this is the music. I'll take you into the music room. That's the music room.
God damn.
So I'll just put that. 7 inches back there, and there we go. Yeah, so there's the vinyl library, and there's a stereo. Here are all the box sets.
Sweet.
And then I've got another room here filled with CDs. So
yeah, just the amount of stuff that you get for promo, right? Because I mean, like myself, I've been involved with the editorial work and doing interviews and everything like that too. So I mean, just the shit you get once in a while, it's like, oh god, like it's almost too much sometimes.
I've asked people to stop sending me physical product because I don't have any room for it. I have about 10,000 CDs, and there's about 400 that have not been filed, and I just like, please just stop sending me stuff. Please stop sending me stuff.
But then you almost feel bad because it's like, well, what if I actually like that band? Maybe I should listen to it.
Well, I tell you what will happen is the band will bubble up, and at a certain point, they'll find me, or I'll find them. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So when you're doing these shows, are you pretty much doing like a shit ton of research on top of that, or is it just kind of is it just you talking?
No, it's a big whack of research. It takes anywhere from 10 to 14 hours to do a single ongoing history show.
Wow.
I do all the writing and all the researching and all the voicing here in my home studio, and then I Dropbox everything to Rob Johnston, who's the technical producer, and he puts the show together and distributes it to everybody across the continent. And he also edits the shows into podcasts, which are then distributed.
Oh wow! So have you done a heavy show lately then?
Let's go to the master schedule. The heaviest show I think I've done recently. I did a Queens of the Stone Age one earlier this year, and the issue here is that it's because the radio show runs on a bunch of mainstream alternative radio stations.
Gotcha. Yep.
I got to be really careful with what I do because a lot of the people that run this program, they don't get it.
Yeah.
So,
and it's gotten worse.
It's got to work for the audience. It's got to work for the radio station. And if you don't want to, I mean, I've been dropped a couple of times by radio stations because they didn't agree with the content of what I was doing. So I don't want to poke that bear too much,
Yeah, you got it. So I guess you do it once a week. Is that what you said?
Once a week. I do 34 full shows a week. Then we take the summer off to do some repeats. We'd be surprised how many people hear it in repeats and then never heard it during the regular season. During that time, I prepare for the following season. So right now, I'm actually finished for this last season. I've written shows ahead to the 17th of May. Then we do 13 weeks of repeats, and then we're back at it in September, the Sunday after Labor Day, with another season. And I spent part of this week sort of sketching out what I think I'm going to do in the fall, but we'll see.
So what was that feeling when you first heard, like you said, when you first heard Cannibal Corpse, and all of a sudden this crazy growl's coming in, these blast beats are kicking in, and like it's like nothing else?
Yeah, what the fuck is going on here? Is my stereo broken?
Yep.
I had the same reaction when I heard Skinny Puppy for the first time. It's like, what's happening here? But again, sometimes you need repeated unintentional exposure to a certain type of music before the penny drops and you go, oh,
there it is.
Oh, there it is. And it starts to speak to you.
Yeah.
we were at the radio station at night. We were playing songs like "Dig It" from Skinny Puppy, and I was like, "You really? People like this? People dance to this? What?" Now remember, I'm a mullet-wearing kid who had just showed up from Winnipeg. I had no exposure to this sort of stuff. But after a while, you begin to go, okay. And I remember getting very deeply into industrial music in the late 80s and early 90s. I mean, the heavier, the better, the harder, the better. Nine Inch Nails was a massive, massive band for me, still is. KMFDM, Ministry, Skinny Puppy, I used to say they know about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And I just loved, the effect was that it awoken some kind of nascent aggression with me. And it didn't make me aggressive, but it allowed me to feel aggression, thereby purging it from the rest of my mind. Does that make sense?
Yes, it totally does. Of course.
So I would never go in a pit. It just wasn't my thing. I never dressed the part because that wasn't my thing either. But I love the power and the majesty and the aggression and the anger that this music channeled for me. And you look at any number of studies, people think that metal people, are angry, dangerous, murderous people. No, they're among the happiest people because this music is a balm to whatever they're feeling. It makes them not less social, but more so.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's that added extra aggression to get out that you just don't know how to get out, right? Like, I mean, some people punching bags, got to run, got to do some exercise, whatever, get that out, right? Not everybody knows those outlets. So throwing on some shredding guitar and some crazy bass, you're sitting there in your room and freaking an album through, you're tired, you're spent, and you're like, okay, I feel better now.
Well, even then, I mean, I remember just lying on my bed, not doing anything, listening to something with much volume, and just immersing myself in that wave of sonic heaviness. And then when it was all over, it's like, you know what, I feel better.
Yeah. Now I can talk to you.
I'm ready now. Okay, I'm cleansed. I'm calm. I got the shit out. How was your day?
That's it. That's it, pretty much. I usually try to wake up with something mellow, personally. I got into, probably in the early 2000s, I really started drifting into, like, German 70s psychedelic and prog rock and all that kind of stuff, right? So Tangerine Dream and everything like that just started tripping me out, and then I just kind of realized that's a perfect, nice wake up, just chill or whatever like that. And then, about a half hour later, after you have a coffee and get in the car, go to work, fucking put on the heavy shit, and then away you go.
Yeah, it's really hard to hit the ground running. At least I find it hard to hit the ground running. You need to warm up to it, and it makes sense. You gotta bring yourself back online after a night's sleep.
Yeah.
I ran into a guy a while back who determines he measures his commute in the number of Tool songs that he can listen to. So, how long does he get to work? 5 Tools.
Right on, right on. So, what have you been listening to lately? That's, I guess, let's get in the heavy genre.
I've been collecting Tool records on vinyl, so that will be part of what I've been listening to the most. I've honestly been spending more time with documentaries, like Lords of Mayhem and whatever else has been out recently.
Yep.
I'm just trying to find my way through for something new through that at the moment. And there's a new sort of comedy slasher metal film that's out now that just was released, I think, last week, and it looks fantastic. But I got to find it. I don't know where it is. Oh, let me see if I can look it up.
Because there was, I think it was a few years ago, there was a horror movie called Deathgasm, and it was about about the black metal kid and all that shit, right?
Yes, here it is. The Deathgasm, the heaviest headbanging horror films of all time. Number 1, Deathgasm.
Yep. Fantastic movie.
But there's a new one. No, I'll get back to Deathgasm again. Damn it, what was it? Blabbermouth had a story on it.
Oh shit. Okay, just recently then.
Just recently. I mean, it's out right now.
Ah. You
You
still go to a lot of shows?
No. No. I can't stay up late anymore. I've given up. I actually have to be at my desk every morning by 7:00, so it's really hard for me to go to a show. The band doesn't come on till 11, especially since I live outside the city and I would have to drive back and forth. So I'm not. If you send me an invitation and your band is going on at 12:15 on Tuesday morning, I'm not going to be there. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
But I will. Occasionally I'll go to something. What was my last show? I don't even remember. The problem is with this lockdown, I have no idea what day it is.
Yeah, I know, right? It's getting bad. This is the only reason I know what days it is, because I'm actually trying to schedule my days out with these interviews. So I'm pretty good.
Rammstein. There's a band that I've been listening to a lot lately. Rammstein.
Right on. Did you see that? Did you see that latest video of them setting up one of their shows there?
Till is a weirdo.
It's gigantic. It is gigantic what they did.
I know. Did you ever see Lords of Chaos?
Yep.
Okay, that's a good movie. Enjoyed that. And damn it, what's that new one? Metal Fiend. It is called. No. God damn. Oh yes, here it is. It is called. It is called We Summon the Darkness.
Oh, okay.
And it looks like it's hysterical.
So there's a trailer up and everything?
There is a trailer up. I'm just looking at it right now.
All right. Well, we'll post a link after this.
I wrote it on my website. Forgot about it.
Right on. So you're constantly, every day, you are sitting down and listening to music. Like, is there a certain time of the day where you just kind of, I got to go to my office in a couple hours need?
Well, throughout the day, music is always on throughout the day, from the moment I sit at my desk to whenever I wrap things up. In the evening, I might, after everybody's gone to bed, I might sit in the basement, in the music room, listening to something on vinyl or something that I've ripped from a CD as I read. But that's not for exploring. That's for listening to old favorites. You got to understand that I spend 5 days a week, 8 or 9 hours a day listening to new music. So I need to have a power down period. You'd be surprised at how much silence there is around the house after 7 o'clock at night, because I just need to, like I said earlier, recharge.
That's understandable. No, especially doing this documentary, asking the questions about tour life and everything. One of our friends, John McEntee, in this band Incantation, told us specifically, he's like, after a show, we get in the van, it is silence in the van until the next show.
I totally understand that. And you need, well, first of all, you got everything ringing in your head. You're completely spent physically, and the body needs to heal. Yeah. Because, if you've done it right, you've given your all on stage. And you can't do that without taking time to allow the body to repair itself and for the mind to repair itself. This is an intense way of you're feeding off the crowd, you're feeding off the music, you're feeding off the energy in the room. You're just exhausted.
Yep, it literally is. Mentally, you're done.
Yeah.
Yep, totally. Yeah, and also, like, we had an interview on Monday with Travis Ryan of Cattle Decapitation, the big band on Metal Blade Records, and he said he doesn't listen to any metal or brutal death metal at all at home, because, that's the band, that's what they do, that's what they listen to all day. So when he gets home, it's like, I'm putting on, just some mellow 70s rock or some hip hop or something trance in the background just to not have distortion going.
Right, and who knows what you pick up subliminally from that different type of music to put into what you do next with the band. People say, I only listen to one type of music. Well, if you only listen to one type of music, what's going to happen is you're going to end up in this bubble, and you're not going to be inspired or to try or influenced to do something different, to take what you do to the next level.
Yep, literally, yeah. And like myself, growing up, I'm 45 myself, and I remember as a kid, literally, as soon as I was able to figure out how a radio worked, I was given a set of headphones and just put in the corner, and I figured a lot of shit out myself. My dad was a big soul and a funk guy, so he had, some Curtis Mayfield records, Wild Cherry, all this kind of stuff. And then my mom was growing up with a lot of the old Beatles and Beach Boys and stuff. So I had that coming in, but, growing up, it was like, okay, whatever was on the radio. So I loved Styx, I loved Black Sabbath, I loved REO Speedwagon and all that. And then as I got older, I found breakdance and hip hop and everything. And then by the end of the 80s, it was like, okay, I think I've had enough of hip hop. I like it, but I need something else. And all of a sudden, alternative. And I started hearing Dinosaur Jr. and Black Flag and all this other stuff. And then it just kept going. And then it was like, okay, heavy. And then it was probably about, I'm going to say mid 2000s. I was like, I think I need to go back to what I liked as a kid. I gotta find that Journey song. I gotta find that Styx song or whatever like that. And my band tastes, like what I wanted to be in musically, like I said, it was like I wanted to start out being a punk rock band, and then it was a death metal band, and it was a thrash metal band, and then it was like, but then I want to be in a psychedelic band, and now I want to be in like a blues rock band and everything, right? So you have to have those changes, like you said, or else you're just going to be stuck in one frame of mind, and you got to grow.
Yeah, you do. You really got to do that.
Totally. So have you been in any bands?
Yeah, I was in a couple of bands before I moved out here. We were basically a mullet-headed power trio band that would play covers by 70s rock, everything from Steppenwolf to Deep Purple to Van Halen to Billy Squier to God, some of the other stuff that we played. But then when I moved here, there was no band, and I had to leave my drums at home for a very long time, and just never managed to get back into the swing of things. But
shit. Well,
I do have here opposite me a small electronic kit that I play every once in a while.
Sweet.
Just to keep things sweet.
Totally. Do you put headphones on, or you just jam on your own?
Headphones, and I found a way to play along with some songs.
Oh, right on. So what's next with you after all this is done, after what we got to go through right now?
No. I am just glad that I'm as busy as I've ever been. I've always worked out of the house. I've always had work to do, so I'm not being really terribly inconvenienced by the lockdown, because pretty much my life normally, as far as what I do for a living, I think what we're going to see is some really interesting fundamental changes in the way that music is consumed, the way music is enjoyed, the way music is presented. I don't know what those things are yet, other than this could hasten the death of the CD for good. This will hurt a lot of record stores. This will hurt a lot of small venues. This will hurt a lot of bands. I'm worried about bands that will just fly apart because they can't keep it together during a period of real economic hardship. But I'm also hopeful that there's nothing like going into a room and you agree with everybody on the music that's being played. You can't download that feeling. You can't download that atmosphere. It'll take us a little while before we trust each other enough to assemble in large crowds again. But we will. And I think there will be for those who can survive, for those who can make it that long, it is going to be glorious when we finally realize that we can go to a gig and get in a pit or whatever and not have to worry about catching some sort of virus that's going to put us on a ventilator.
Just to shake somebody's hand and say, "How's it going, man?" That's holy.
Yeah, I was out for my walk today, you meet somebody on the sidewalk, and then you veer off to one side, they veer off to the other side.
Yeah.
And you're just like, don't infect me.
Yeah,
You know,
it's awkward. It really is. But it's like, so like, yeah, because what we're going through right now, obviously everybody's in isolation, and I'm noticing people are starting to play with the technology finally that we have, right? I mean, we have to connect somehow. So how do we do that? So, obviously we're doing these Facebook live streamings, starting to see a lot of bands start to live jams and all this other stuff too, right? So it's going to be interesting to see that when everything is back to normal, there's probably going to be 1,000 or 10,000 albums that come out, literally.
What? Yeah, because everybody's inside. Artists make art, and they're going to make art about how they're feeling, what they're seeing, what they're observing, and what they're experiencing. And towards the end of this year, early next year, there's going to be a lot of really interesting music, I think.
There's going to be a lot of angsty punks.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yes.
Because we've been in, the mainstream has been fairly poppy, fairly low key for the last 7 or 8 years. We can use some aggression. I think this might be the thing that triggers it.
Yeah, well, because we have no choice. Like we're mentioning, everyone's jamming in their own household. We can't get to recording studios or everything like that. So people are going to start bringing that DIY back again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I can't wait because, like I mentioned, I hope there's going to be a lot of new angsty punk rock bands out there that just want to fucking give it to the man.
Yeah, I hope so.
Totally. We got any last words before we kick out of here, bro?
I got a dog here that is really anxious to go outside, so she's been so good all day, but now I gotta take her out.
Yeah, you got it, man. Well, thank you very much for hanging out and just talking music, man. That's what we got to do.
That's what we listen. We might as well.
Yeah, all day, every day.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay, we'll see you later.
All right, ciao. Woo! Well, how about that, eh? Mr. Alan Cross. Like I said, man, he's been around for a while. He's been around the block. The guy has all kinds of killer shows about all styles of music. I mean, obviously, he's mentioning, a lot of alternative stations and stuff like that. So he's doing that sort of deal. But the guy in the background, man, like, it's just, he's one of those people that, you want to sit down with and just talk about all sorts of music, man. Like, it's just, that's just what we do. So, well, I guess this is it pretty much. Yeah, hopefully we can get back to normal soon, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in and hanging out and stuff like that, man. It's been a blast, especially with Alan, man, because I mean, we've all grown up with us Canadians here, at least with Alan Cross for many, many years now, and even if he's talking about a band that I don't appreciate, he's still going to bring up dirt that is so goddamn interesting. It makes you want to listen to it anyways, though. Every time he comes on the radio, if it's on, and as soon as I hear him, I'll, turn everything down. Let's just listen. I just want to hear what he says, because anything music related, behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff is always fun, juicy gossip. So, well, we're death metal here, and we're going to get back to some death metal. But next week we got a lineup here. Hold on a sec here. Let's see where we got this stuff. We got next week's all lined up. I don't even know where my book is. Where's my book? I don't have my book. Where is my book? So we're gonna go. So Monday we're gonna come back out with another lineup of shows. I don't know. I'm just gonna try to keep going to this Monday to Thursday thing. You need the weekends off just because I need to not do this and just relax, have some fires, because we have a pretty nice backyard, and yeah, we got a little fire pit in the back, so that's fucking amazing. But next week we're gonna be sitting down again like this with Albert Mudrian, who is the main man behind Decibel Magazine. We're going to chat with Mike Bradley of Centenary out of Chicago. Wednesday is going to be with Chuck Labrasawi. I forget how to spell his last name. He's out of Alberta, Calgary, Alberta. He was in the band Canadian Legends, actually, Immortal Possession. If you remember that death metal demo from, I believe it was from 91. So Immortal Possession. And he's got, he ended up going on to do a band called Psychotic Gardening, probably about 6-7 years ago. And then I think that went down, and then he started a new band called Votov, V-O-T-O-V. So, and they're fucking killer. These guys are old school. They know what it took. They know what it takes, and they give it. They fucking give it. And I guess Immortal Possession is playing around with some new stuff. Votov's still working. I don't know if they're still working or they got some shit out. Fuck. Well, Chuck, if you're listening, send me some stuff, man. I need some new shit. And then on Thursday, we're gonna sit down and chat with Matt Calvert of Dark Descent Records out of Colorado. And if you're not familiar with Dark Descent Records, they are a label that has put out some of the underground's most fucking intense releases. I'm not going to tell you who, because you should know if you're watching this right now. But if you don't, Dark Descent Records, please go digging. And we all need to support. We all need to share. Everybody, please share as much shit as you can everywhere to help artists out, us, bands, everybody. Just like, share, comment, post. Please, man, we have all this fucking time on our hands. And this is when we need to get this strong support system going. Just everybody, man, because we just need each other. All right. So thank you very much. It's I don't know what time it is. It's coming out by Koroidia. What's this? Koroidia. Koroidia. Out of Florida. Make sure to check it out, man. They fucking rip. They rip, guys. Yeah, man. Everybody's chilling. Yasser. What's up, bud? Winnipeg. I get it wrong every time, man. I'm fucking damn it. So Winnipeg. Chuck's old school, man. He's been hanging out for years himself. And Detroit. Centenary is from Detroit. Wow, I'm getting it all wrong tonight. Ah, man. So that's fucking killer. What else we got here? Everybody's freaking hanging out and just chilling. Dan Varga, what's up, bud? If you're still watching, Varga. If you guys remember, there's a metal band from Hamilton. I believe you were from Hamilton, and they fucking kicked ass back in the 80s. A thrash band that just blew up from around here. Fucking great dude. Dan Varga. He's still chilling, still hanging out. And now he's playing with Sven Galley, if you remember that. 80s Canadian, 80s, 90s hard rock band. And they've been kicking ass again lately. And Dan Varga's playing drums in it. Fucking fantastic. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. And 91. There we go. Detroit Chainsaw Death Metal. There we go. Centenary. And they just got, and we just got them signed to CDN Records. Again, we're fucking pumping CDN Records all the time, man, because we're out there, we're trying to do shit, man. Try to bring some shit out. And Craig, he's a fucking great dude, and he's been in contact and in touch with the Canadian death metal scene especially for a long time. CDN's been around since fucking 91. I believe it was. And yeah, so like I said, man, just support, share, like, comment, do everything you can. Like pages, love groups, do what you can, man. Hamilton, yeah. So Varga was amazing. Yeah, man. Varga was a fucking great band, man. And they ended up blowing up a little bit too later. And they were all over our music stations, Much Music. Their videos were playing all the time. I don't know if they were playing over an MTV or anything like that during the Headbangers Ball era and everything. But no, Varga kicked ass, man. Fuck yeah, CDN Records. All right, guys. Well, it's Thursday. I got the weekend off. So next week, like I said, we got Albert Mudrian from Decibel Magazine. We got Mike Bradley from Centenary. We got Chuck from Immortal Possession and Votov. And then we have Matt Calvert from Dark Descent Records. So let's fucking do it, peeps.